Hello, Jenny Hall here for Honeybee Stamps. Today I'd like to share a project that I created by stamping on Birthday Bash 6x6 paper pad with the Fluttering By stamp set from Honeybee Stamps. These are some really pretty patterned paper pieces and they come in beautiful rainbow colors. And I couldn't resist the idea of stamping a nice open-winged butterfly on each of the 5 rainbow colors. So I'm going to place the piece of paper in my original Misty, and with some black VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, I am going to stamp the same image on all 5 of the papers. I just took one piece of paper out and positioned it in basically the same spot and just sequentially made the stamped butterflies. Super easy. Once I stamped all the butterflies, then they can be cut out with the coordinating dies from the Fluttering By stamp set. Or you can grab your scissors, as I did, and just get to fussy cutting. I enjoy fussy cutting, so sometimes that's something that just kind of brings me a little bit of calmness. Now I'm going to use 5 colors of coordinating Distress Oxide inks and add just a little bit of color to the outside edge of each one of the butterflies. The colors are listed on screen to help you follow along. I'm making sure that it is going to give not a solid green, but like a little bit of a darker green on the outside or a little darker blue on the outside than it is on the inside. So I tried to imagine what type of a background that I would feature these butterflies on, and it kept coming back to me as rainbow. So I grabbed a piece of watercolor paper and I'm going to create a circle of watercolor wash. So I'm starting at the top, and I mixed up a color of pink because this set of Gonzai Tombi watercolors does not have a pink. It has a nice red and the white, and so I could make my own pink. Now I'm going to go from clockwise one color to the next color and then let these colors touch together. But you'll notice that some of the colors were a little bit more fluid than some of the others, meaning that I maybe squeezed the barrel of the aqua brush a little bit more on some instances, and so one color bled into another a little bit too much. So by the time I got to the blue-green, then I tried really hard to make sure I didn't add too much of the water. But when you're making a watercolor wash, then it's really important to make sure that you pick up the pigment and then do add a generous amount of water. And then if any color gets lost in the wash, then just add it back in as I did that yellow. I'm doing lots of flicking and splattering because I thought it would look really good to take that color in very small amounts and pull it away from the circle. And the easiest way I could think of to do that would be with paint splatters. So I'm drying the panel, and at this point, anything I add on top of the colors is going to just lay there and not dilute, because if it's on wet, then the watercolor wash would just absorb it. So now I can use white and black paint flicks that are from the same set. I thought I needed to add a little bit of sparkle, so I grabbed some Perfect Pearls and just diluted it with a few squirts of water. And then I'm adding that to the center area of this watercolor wash. And I thought the center area would be good because once I place all of the butterflies around the edge of this area, then the colors are going to be mostly covered up. They will be peeking through, but that center area will show up really nicely. And in order to clean up the perfect pearls, I just wiped them off with my cloth and then sprayed a little water to remove them further. Now, figuring out exactly how to place the butterflies probably takes the longest in the design process for me. I at first wanted them to go in a perfect circle, and it just didn't really fit. It just didn't really work out. What I had in my mind was not something that I could translate out, and that happens sometimes. So I decided to place them all in the same direction, but maybe slightly askew from one another, and I made sure to overlap a few of them as well. And a lot of that watercolor wash is going to get covered up, but a lot of it's not too. So that way it's just basically a hint of color that's peeking through, and the circle shape is going to pretty much draw the eye around to all of the butterflies. Now I'm going to create the sentiment from one of the sentiment stamps that are from Fluttering By. I've grabbed a scrap of black cardstock, and it happens to be the width of my card panel. So I thought I would just leave it long and stretch it all the way across the card design instead of just being a banner in the middle or off to the side. Just stretch it straight across. So I'm setting that white embossing powder with my heat tool, and once I let this dry, then I can take my dry cloth and just wipe away that anti-static powder tool. I'm adhering down the sentiment with some double-sided foam tape, and I'm just going to stick it right there and let it kind of come together as it did. I didn't want to cover up the entire bottom two butterflies, so I pulled back the antenna area, and I thought, well, I can just have the antennas peek over. That way they're not being hidden. That way they're part of the design a little more. Now I'm going to add the Moonlight rhinestones, which are one of my favorites from the Honeybee store, with a Marvy jewel picker and some Nuvo liquid glue. And it's going to accent all of the little splatters from the perfect pearls. And that center area kind of glows a little bit with the perfect pearls. It's just a nice, happy rainbow design. Sometimes I feel like I just need to make a rainbow. I hope that you have enjoyed this process today, and we would love it if you would share your creations and tag us on social media.